Welcome, my peeps, my peoples. Please like, comment, subscribe, share the video. It'll be greatly appreciated. We're going to be talking about the Bobby Brown story. It's Mary Jane. I mean, this story, this Bobby Brown story on BET is absolutely magnificent and wonderful. The cast, the director, the actor, the way the story is being told, the production, the music, the clothing. It's like they got everything right, from Whitney Houston to Bobby Brown to his brother, to the videos, to the music, to the songs, and just every character just playing its role perfectly. With Janet Jackson, it's just like, wow. Didn't even know Janet Jackson was getting down like that. She chose, she chose James DeBarge over, Bobby Brown. Bobby Brown wanted to be accepted. He faced colorism. People didn't like him because he was dark skinned and from the projects and from the hood. And he told Janet Jackson that he's worth 25 million. I ain't good enough for you. I was just like, wow. I mean, everything just went so well. You got actors from The Wire. I mean, just absolutely, soul food characters from the movie. Actors. It's just absolutely wonderful. So let's get into it. So we start off with Bobby Brown almost dying and all this other stuff. It's crazy how Bobby Brown was surrounded by death, and it really hurts to think about that he lost Whitney Houston and he lost his daughter Bobby Christina. He lost his sister's fiance, and then a best friend of his was murdered too as well. It's just like he was surrounded by death since the beginning of time. He just known mourning, and he's a survivor. This is just absolutely like crazy, watching his best friend get stabbed to death after attending a funeral over something petty as touching a bike. And then Bobby Brown going to a party, he get kicked out of New Edition, he is let go, and now when he gets home he doesn't know what to do. He's in the streets, he's selling drugs because he got a baby. He got she's not his girl anymore. His first baby mother, he just left her in the dust. He forgot all about her, but he did take care of her while he had money. And he's out here selling drugs. His mother's trying to stop him. She finds out that he got a gun, and she called she called Tank. Tank came through like, this is an offer, and either you take it or you don't. Bobby Brown goes to a party, and a guy's talking about, oh, you like them dark skin and buck tooth and things like that, because he was with Kim. And then the dude pulled out a gun and was about to shoot Bobby, but his friends that he's actually selling weed with got into the mix and disarmed the guy. So that was crazy. Just Bobby Brown selling weed out there in the projects, really dangerous, after he just got out of being on New Edition and being on tour, being on TV, and then he's back to the hood. So his mom, she made a sacrifice, and she called. And then Mekhi Phifer, which is Tommy, which is Bobby Brown's brother, he asked his brother to be his manager. His brother was smart, his brother was educated, and he was trying to do his own thing, but he sacrificed himself to be Bobby Brown's manager. And he had no idea how to be a manager, but from the beginning, and Bobby Brown is actually helping tell this story, because it's his story, that his brother was actually really good and was there for him and did everything possible to secure him a good deal. And just to see Bobby Brown character, how he, before the drugs came in, before Whitney came in, how he was working hard, how he just went to the studio, like he was really passionate about music. And once he signed the deal again, his brother was a manager. When he went to go shoot his video, that song was so. And Bobby Brown with the blue shirt on, and his brother Tommy was like, hey, listen, he was telling people like, yo, it's telling the production and the head of, one of the people that work for the record label, like, hey, listen, let's come with an up-tempo instead of a ballad, it'll be better. But, they didn't listen, so it got released. It was in I Need a Girlfriend. It was released in It was recorded in 1985 and released in 1986, and that song was good. It was a nice song, but it didn't really pop because it was a love song. And so now Bobby is thinking that, he's out, he's getting high, he's chilling. I love the radio in the scene too as well. And the radio, and he's got the beat going. I think it was Slick Rick. And then he wanted to do like, R&B, like hip hop. He didn't have a name for it at the time, but he didn't want the slow tempo. And so his friend was like, hey, go to Telly Riley. Teddy Riley has something to do with Bobby Brown. Teddy is just a major contribute to music in itself. And I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves. And then, Bobby Brown goes to the studio. He meet up with L.A. Reid and Babyface, and Tommy, which is Bobby Brown brother, make fun of. He was like, "Yo, who's your designer? Who dressed you guys? Like, what do you got on?" And then Bobby Brown talks to, the record exec that's there, and was like, "You know what, I want to work with Teddy Riley." And he was like, "Okay." And he was like, "Yo, we chose what you wanted to do. We went with a ballad instead of up-tempo. I agreed. So give me a shot." And he was like, "Okay, you want to work with Teddy Riley?" And he was like, Teddy Riley actually worked with Keith Sweat. And don't we love Keith Sweat? I love me some Keith Sweat. And so we have that situation going on. And then he was like, "Oh, so, but you're not going to work with these guys?" And he was like, Bobby Brown was like, "I'm going to work with them too." So smart. Doing both. Working with L.A. Reid and Babyface. Then working with Teddy Riley. Like the best. I mean, Bobby Brown worked with the best. That's why the music was impeccable. I mean, impeccable. Just his drive, his courage, and being from where he's from, and his brother being there with him. It just shows you the love and just to see him make it out, so we have that situation, and then he starts to record the music, and it was just like, it was crazy. With Teddy Riley, he did "What's Up With You," "Rock With You." So that song, I love that song. That song was just hot. It was hot. And with Babyface and L.A. Reid, he did a hot song too. That song was really nice. What song did he did a really nice song with them. And that shit hit the charts. I was just like, whoa. So he did the music with them too as well. And then after that, he moved his mother and father to Atlanta, Georgia in 1989. Got them a house, a huge ass mansion with a red carpet that was terrible, that was ugly. The mother was like, I'm not feeling that carpet at all. That carpet is not on point. And so with that situation, he starts to talk about his girls. And then we find out that he is dating Janet Jackson at the same time that he's still messing around with Kim. And Kim got his baby. And he wants to make sure that Janet Jackson get the gift that he wanted to give her, which is a car for her birthday. And they on the low. And his father and his mother was like, "Hey, listen, you can't be playing these games. You can't be playing these games with these women." And even his brother was saying, these are industry women. They're not just objects. Kim is your baby's mother, and Janet Jackson is a superstar. So like, you need to just chill out, really chill out. I think the song that he did with Babyface and L.A. Reid was "I Need a Girlfriend," I believe. No, it wasn't "I Need a Girlfriend." I did have it down. So we have that situation, and I was just like, wow. I mean, the story just so authentic. So he's talking about Janet Jackson. He's talking about Janet Jackson's nasty girl. And he was like, he wants to share his body all over the place. He wasn't really taking it serious because he was young, but he did take the music serious. But he did like Janet Jackson. And he said he's a whore. And so then he gets the gift and he wants to bring it to Janet Jackson. And she's like all scared and nervous because she's at her house and she's supposed to be engaged with James DeBarge. And basically Janet Jackson's family is not really feeling, Bobby Brown at all. Bobby Brown thinks it's because he's dark skinned from the projects, why they won't give him a shot and why they don't like him. And then if you think about the Jacksons with the bleach in the skin, then also with Janet Jackson wanted Tupac to take an AIDS test before she do a kissing scene with him. Okay. So I wonder if there's any validity to some of the stories we hear about Janet Jackson, and Janet Jackson being controlled by her family, not being able to date Bobby Brown, number one. And then it also brings kind of like validity to the story of Janet Jackson having a secret child with James DeBarge, and she's actually going along with it. It seemed like Janet Jackson was really subservient with her family, and she listened and obeyed everything that they said, especially because Joe Jackson was no joke back in the day. So that situation goes down, and then so then Janet Jackson's like, "I'll make it up to you." And so then they go to the hotel and they are sexing it up and down, and he shows that, and he's telling the story that Janet Jackson was very freaky, very good in bed. She's a nasty girl, she's wild, and she can do it. I was like, wow. So then we have that situation, and then Bobby Brown is feeling a certain type of way because she don't want to bring the relationship in public, and he wants to have a public relationship. He wants to be introduced to her family. He wants to be a part of her life. He doesn't want to be kept a secret. And you be like, damn, my man feels that way. Yeah. And he felt that way, and she was like, no, I can't do it, I can't, and all this other stuff, and they just break up from then on. And he feeling some type of way about industry chicks and dating someone that is famous. And I'm just like, damn. So we go with that situation. I was just like, wow. And so then we get to Tommy doing a deal for Bobby Brown. Actually, the Ghostbusters. I love the Ghostbusters. The Ghostbusters. Oh, the TV show. I used to watch that all the time. I love that. It was on a VHS tape, and I used to watch it all the time. And knowing that Tommy secured that, they wanted Bobby to do a soundtrack, but Tommy secured a deal where he does a cameo too as well. Bobby Brown didn't have the song together. He's out in the trailer on the set of Ghostbusters having sex with 3 women, and then and the other guy is getting high too as well. And the way that they wrote the song, Bobby Brown is just like thinking, what's he's having sex at the same time. He's not really taking it serious, but he got the song out, too hot to hold, too cold to handle. They called Ghostbusters. He couldn't find anything to go with Ghostbusters, and Tommy comes in to find out what's going on, and he adds In Control, Ghostbusters In Control, and then boom, that's the song. And Tommy came up with that right away after he was hitting that joint, and then boom, he got out there and he did his thing, and that shit was a hit. That was number one for me. That song was everywhere. And so it was just crazy how Bobby Brown did that, and the trailer. He wasn't on cocaine at that time. He was just smoking weed, having sex. He was just like, living his life. He was living his best damn life at that time. Him and his brother was getting along. Money was coming in. They was working. It was progress, a lot of progress going on. So, and it was having fun at the same time too. And he did take care of his family too as well. Make sure he got his mother and father a house, and he took care of his kids too as well. That's what they showed in the movie. And so, Bobby Brown was just really like, he really felt like Janet Jackson did not want to be with him because he was dark skinned and from the projects. And Bobby Brown was like, I'm worth 25 million. And it didn't matter. So then right after that, Bobby Brown goes to the Soul Train Award, April 13, 1989. And, they have awards going on, and Whitney Houston kept bumping into him with her butt or her thighs. And then he was like, yo, miss, you're bumping into me. And she was like, I know. And so then when they called Whitney Houston name in the category, people booed. And then on top of that, she didn't win. Anita Baker won. I love me some Anita Baker, giving you the best that I got, baby. And so we have that situation. That right after that, Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown goes out, and then they bump into somebody that Bobby Brown knows. And he was like, oh, it's not a date, we just friends. And she was like, well, this is a date. And he was just he felt so good that she acknowledged him, that she was happy to be with him, and she was proud to be with him. She wasn't ashamed. She wasn't trying to keep him a secret. And she was a star, a huge mega star. I love me some Whitney Houston. I love you, Whitney. So we have that situation going on. And then from there, there was Murder, She Wrote. And they just started dating, and they was together, and that was just it. Then they had their sex, they had their thing going on. Bobby Brown was on tour doing his thing. He got arrested on stage because he was freaking it and showing it and freaking it and doing what he's not supposed to do in Texas, because they have, them laws where you can't show no obscenity going on or anything like that. That's what happened to 2 Live Crew. They was arrested too as well for their lyrics and their music. And look what goes on today in music. You can't, Molly, Percocet, lean, bend you over, stick it in you. So you have them situations going on. And he's with he's with Whitney Houston, and then he's backstage or whatever, and his baby mother, Kim, she comes through, and she wants to know who Bobby Brown's in the room with, what is going on. And she comes in with the 2 kids, the first baby mother kid, and then the Kim's kid that she has with Bobby, introduce herself to Whitney Houston. Whitney was like, it's nice to meet you. You are truly blessed. Wonderful to have kids. Whitney Houston wasn't scared. She wasn't nervous. She handled that situation correctly. After that, her and Bobby Brown Brown had passion. It was like they had passion and they had love. It was different than the sex that he had with all the other women. It was like their souls were connected through everything, because I think that there was just their selves at one point in time. But Whitney Houston was keeping a secret, probably because she was sleeping with Robin. That's allegedly, and then she was doing cocaine. I'm just gonna say allegedly. So we have that situation go on, and she was just like, I'm okay with it. She was like, I'm okay with your kids. I'm okay. I can't be scared. I am from Newark, New Jersey. And you guys ever see the documentaries on Newark, New Jersey, back in the time when Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown was going on? It's actually, the documentaries are actually on YouTube, and it's about the drugs. It is crazy. Like, it was like everybody in Newark at one point in time was on drugs. That's the way the documentary seemed, but it was just a lot of people on drugs. It was crazy, and it just scared me when I watched it. And so we have that situation, and they dating, and then Bobby Brown doing Every Little Step I Take. He had so many different great songs, so many different great hits that came out, that it was just like, and Bobby Brown wanted to be bigger and better than New Edition. He wanted to sell more, and he actually did. He accomplished his goal, and everything went well. And then one night, Bobby Brown, he went to Kim's house. He was with his daughter. They end up having sex. Kim end up getting pregnant. Whitney Houston end up getting pregnant at the same time. But before then, Bobby Brown asked Whitney Houston to marry him in the limo. And Bobby Brown's parents wanted him to marry Whitney Houston. They liked Whitney. They got along with Whitney. Whitney fit in with the family. It was all good. It was no judgment. It was no like, I'm better than you or anything. Whitney Houston was just down to earth. And they wanted him to marry her. They even asked him, because they was dating for 3 years, Bobby, when you gonna marry Whitney? And he popped the question, and he let Whitney Houston hear his music. She let him hear her music before it was released, before they gave the okay on it. So they shared a lot too as well. And then once Whitney Houston found out that Kim was pregnant, she was like, I'm planning a wedding. I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and you do this. And she was like, I want you to get the DNA results of that child. And but she stayed with him, and Robin was right there. And Bobby Brown was like, what you looking at, Robin? It's like Robin was everywhere. She was around the corner. She was up the street. She was just in the business. She was always there. And I'm surprised Bobby Brown never questioned it until like later on. So that situation happened, and but they still got, she still continued to be with Bobby. And then once Bobby and Whitney continue to be engaged, then we get to the point where Bobby Brown signs all his account, all his money, everything that he has over to Whitney Houston, into her accounts. And that tells you that he loves her, that he loved her. For him to do that, to be from the hood, to be from Boston, to suffer, to watch his mother sell drugs, because Bobby Brown's mother, she sold drugs at one point in time to survive. Then him selling drugs and being in the hood and watching people die. And now he gets this money and he signs it over to Whitney. It was love. Everybody tried to warn him, but Brian tried to warn him. His brother tried to warn him, but Bobby Brown wasn't listening. He wasn't paying attention. He loved him some Whitney, and that was going to be. And they end up living together, moving in together. And Robin was just always around like, damn. And then we get to the set of The Bodyguard. The Bodyguard was one of my favorite movies. Just loving to hear Whitney Houston sing I Will Always Love You was just the shit. And Kevin, he always wanted to be with Whitney, and people wanted Whitney Houston to date Kevin, and a lot of other celebrities that wanted to date Whitney. A lot of like the biggest people you can ever believe wanted Whitney Houston, but Whitney Houston wanted Bobby Brown. I don't blame him. You see Bobby Brown, the way he dances, he's charismatic, My Prerogative, Every Little Step I Take, Tenderoni, just the way he danced and he moved on stage. Like, he was a great entertainer, a great singer. He knew how to get the crowd going. He knew what to do. He was just himself, and it was just amazing to see Bobby in his prime and how it was put together and how the story was told, his costumes, his and everything. It was just so nice. They even had the videos of these songs, almost identical to what they had and the on the show, on the BET Bobby Brown show. So that was actually excellent to see as well. And then Bobby Brown rushed to the bodyguard set, and that's when Whitney Houston had her miscarriage. So I'm believing that Whitney Houston had her miscarriage while she was working on the bodyguard. Like, damn, that must have been tough and hard. That's probably why she was singing her ass off, and she looked so beautiful in the bodyguard in the movie. Oh my God. And Kevin is with her, and just like Bobby Brown's the last one to know that his wife had a miscarriage. And but before then, Bobby Brown and Whitney, they got married, and that's the night that the day that Bobby Brown found out that Whitney Houston was actually doing coke, and he was okay with it, and he kissed her and he said, "You know what? I love you for being you. I like you for being you." And they got married, and then Whitney Houston was like, "Okay, I'm gonna show you all of me." So we have that situation going on, and then he finds out that she lost the baby. He feels like it was his fault that she lost the baby because he cheated on her and got Kim pregnant. So that situation went down, and it was like, damn. I mean, death was really always around, Bobby Brown. Like, it was no joke. And so Bobby Brown's at a photo shoot with with all his whole body hanging out. His brother was like, "Let me get that shirt." Tommy was always there too, making sure things were going right. And Bobby Brown was like, "Whitney, let's go smoke." And she was like, "I can't. I'm pregnant." And she put his hand on her stomach, and then he realized that she was pregnant. So when she said, "I can't smoke because I'm pregnant," so I'm believing that when Whitney first found out that she was pregnant, she wasn't doing the coke or anything. Or anything like that. I hope not, but that's a possibility that could actually possibly had happened. But that's allegedly. I don't think she was, because if she didn't want to smoke a cigarette because she was pregnant, then I don't think that when she first had the miscarriage, it had anything to do with drugs, in my opinion. I could be totally wrong. So we have that situation go down. Everything seems cool, and they get married, and Whitney, she's doing her thing, and then all of a sudden Whitney, it's Grammy weekend, she's in a hotel locked up in the room with Robin. Bobby Brown comes to the hotel all tipsy, all falling over with his James Brown jacket around his shoulders, and he's trying to get in. Whitney's like, she's all like high and shit. She was like, what's the password? She was like, "You got anything?" He was like, "Nah, I don't got nothing because, my dealer's dry because, it's Grammy weekend." And she was like, "Well, you can't come in." And she locked him out. And then he went over to Kim's house and he slept over there on the couch. And then he finally went back home, finally was let back home with Whitney. And then, he got in the house. He brought her these diamond earrings. His diamond necklace was so beautiful. And then she was happy to see him. And they rekindled and had crazy, wow sex, the way that he described it. And everything's going fine, and then all of a sudden Tommy is called to his parents' house, and there is a notice for to vacate the property because the taxes hasn't been paid on the property. That's the first thing the mom said when she got into the house, that all the taxes paid up. At first they was, but now the taxes are not paid up. And so then that's when Tommy is telling the mom and father, "I can't control Bobby. I can't do nothing with him anymore. He's on drugs." She was like, "What, smoking weed?" He was like, "No, he's doing cocaine. He's in the house for weeks at a time. Him and Whitney all day getting high." And the mom was like, "So who's watching Christina and Chrissy?" And he said the nannies are. And I was like, damn. So now you see why Bobby Christina is the way that she is, because she was just in that mix. And you got young millionaires from the hood. There's no limit to blow that they can get. And then Tommy was like, the drug dealer just used to drop the drugs off in the mailbox, and that's it. And he was like, Whitney will be gone for months in the house. Like, they won't even come outside or anything, just stay in the house because they're high. And it's like they built their own world in that house. And so that was the situation. And so and the mother was like, "No, you're supposed to be there. Bobby trusted you. You're supposed to control Bobby. You're supposed to be there. He chose you for a reason because you're supposed to get him a check." He was like, "I can't." So then he goes to see Bobby. But before then, Bobby's having a fight with Whitney because Bobby makes some chicken. He brings a plate to Whitney. He has a plate for himself, and he didn't bring Robin a plate. And Robin starts eating off his plate. And he tells her, "Don't be doing that. That's my plate." And she was like, "Boy, whatever." And he was like, "Don't call me boy. My name is Bobby Brown. I'm her husband." And look, don't let me go toe to toe with you. I'll beat you down like that. He's threatening her. And so, Robin is like, Whitney, you gonna let him talk to me? And Whitney got her head down. She don't say nothing. And Bobby Brown tells Robin, get out and don't you ever come back. And she flies off. And then Whitney throws a plate of food on the floor. But first they said the food was good. Bobby Brown always says that he can cook. So I guess he can cook. And so Whitney's chasing Bobby around, ready to argue with him and fight with him. And she's all high out of her mind. That's when Tommy knocks on the door. He's trying to talk to Bobby. Bobby's turning on the music, blasting it, and getting high in front of Tommy. Tommy was like, you need to pay the notice on the parents' house because they got their second notice. I thought you. And Bobby's like, I'm going to take care of it. His brother was like, there's the label wants to pay you. I can secure $1 million for you to do a reunion album with New Edition. Bobby was like, no, I want $6 million. Tommy was like, I can't secure $6 million. Then Bobby was like, I want to do acting. I want to do this. And he was like, my last album didn't sell good. And so, Tommy was like, the reason why it didn't sell because you ain't hungry anymore. You don't want the money anymore. You're not putting your all into it. You're just getting high. You're just on that blow. You and Whitney in this house getting high. And then that's when, Bobby Brown fires his brother. And his brother said, you know what, call your daughter. It's her birthday. And you got her a bike for Christmas. And so that's when Bobby fires Tommy. Bobby flies back to Boston. He goes to see his kids, but he's intoxicated. And, Kim doesn't let the kids go with him. He gets back in the car with his sister's, fiance. And they go to the club. They're drinking. The sister fiance is noticing everybody watching Bobby Brown, watching them. And it could be Bobby's enemies. It could be his enemies. But they got enemies around. And Bobby's not paying attention because he's high. He's drunk. He's not paying attention to his surroundings or what's going on. Or anybody looking at him or want to take advantage of him because he thinks that he's at home. He's in Boston. Nothing's going to happen. And plus his mind is not all the way there because he's strung out. And the brother-in-law, the fiance is trying to tell Bobby what's going on, trying to get Bobby to pay attention. They leave. Bobby's out there yelling, I love Boston, I love B-Town, I love this, I love that, and all this other stuff. So then the brother-in-law noticed, somebody rolling up. And so Bobby, he opens the door, gets in the car. Bobby gets in the car. He hands Bobby the gun. Before he can know it, the car gets shot up. Bobby escapes. Again, he got like 9 lives. And, his sister fiance gets shot up and get killed just like that. Another person died right next to Bobby. Somebody that Bobby watched die. And his sister's so upset. She's blaming Bobby for it because they shouldn't have been at the bar. They shouldn't have been at the club. They shouldn't have been out there like that. And so his father, Bobby Brown's father, tell him to go home and be with your wife and your kids while you can. Bobby Brown goes home. He's just getting drunk. He's just getting high. And he's having nightmares. And now he's getting farther and farther away from the music. Whitney Houston is farther and farther away from the music. They just stuck in the house. And Barbara Christina is there going through all types of shit. She's seeing everything. She's seeing her parents fight, argue, get high, have no care in the world. Bobby Brown is losing money. Bobby Brown he's probably almost bankrupt at this point. And it's just probably just Whitney Houston money that is floating him around because he hasn't put music out in a while. And I don't know if Bobby Brown actually wrote all his songs, but if he still has his masters, the residuals coming from it are going to the producers, the record label. And we don't know what type of deal that Bobby Brown signed because, the record label is dirty and they'll screw a black person over in a minute, especially somebody from the projects and doesn't have, all the Jewish lawyers that they need to get through. That's what everybody says. You got to have a Jewish lawyer if you're in Hollywood. That's what people say. So that's how the shit goes down. It's just like, damn. And Robin, it's like Robin's everywhere. But Whitney Houston chose Bobby Brown and not Robin. Robin was like, out the door. Peace. See you later. So Whitney loved Bobby. She could have had any man that she wanted. She could have been with anybody at that time. And she didn't want them. She wanted Bobby. She wanted Bobby Brown. So until next time, I just enjoyed it. I love seeing all these actors. I just love the music. I love the production. It's not cheaply put together. They got real actors in this movie Tyler Perry plays in this movie. Like, it is absolutely magnificent. The lady that played Janet Jackson did an excellent job. Whitney Houston, Bobby Brown, Mekhi Phifer, of course, he did a great job. And then you also know, what's his name? Bobby Brown's mother and father. The mother's from The Wire. And then you have the father. He's been on TV for years in movies. He was in a corner. He's been in everything. So they actually put this together nice. And it's so wonderful when an artist can put together a story about their life and be the one to tell it correctly, where it sounds cohesive, where it makes sense. I'm telling you, it's just like reading a book. Peace and out, one love.